So this is one at your heart. CFO will develop a very strong relation with your CPA. Most people rely on your CPA to get that tax return, that legal regulatory document in, and tell me how much I'm going to pay. And let's also talk about how I can't pay that much that I paid this year, next year. But I think there's so much more you should be doing with your CPA, and the CFO can do that. They too have very, very broad experiences. They have seen hundreds, if not thousands, of businesses over the years, trends and what goes on in businesses, what worked well, what hasn't worked well. They have access to different kinds of networks of people, whether they be different lawyers, insurance brokers, other bankers, other lenders. They're part of the team, and as a CFO, I like to make them part of my team and have that relationship. The third point I think is a very, very important point. If you're thinking about proper tax planning, you got to think about proper business planning. The two go hand in hand, and you should be knowing that ideally you're working with the same CPA who's doing both for you. I've seen situations where you don't, and it gets a little icky. You got your personal CPA and you got your business CPA, and they're a little bit different. The other thing I'm sure you've been part of too, Carter, is that they're part of a team. If you got an exit strategy 3-5 years down the road, you should be talking about that with your CPA, your partners, and some of your other stakeholders. And it's not something you decide and wake up today, I'm going to leave the business at the end of 6 months, particularly if you built yourself a 10, 20, $30 million business. Lots of considerations, not only financial, sometimes emotional, sometimes tax related, sometimes insurance related, but you need to do that. If you want to share it, and it varies with clients, but sometimes when I'm brought in to help understand the personal side of what's going on in someone's life and have the CPA be part of that discussion, I have found that it makes a more effective team. Every entrepreneur and business owner feels differently about it. Some like to keep close to the vest on what's going on personally. I leave that to be to them. But I do believe that there's a value add for another financial person at the table, particularly if they know what's going on in the business and particularly if they know you very well, because they become your right-hand person. That CFO can add more value to them.
I agree with that. When we've had that happen over the years, it's always been much better. And sometimes having both sides there, you're discussing it. And I think you get a more balanced approach to managing the taxes. I think of it as the taxes, saving them are the icing on the cake versus the be all and end all. And you don't want to damage the business. So you have to do what's best economically, best for your business, but consider the taxes and how can we help there too. And that combination that you're describing with the CFO and the CPA makes for a much better value to the entrepreneur.
Right. And more than likely, they come out with a better scenario, which again, it's not always financial. It's a very important piece of selling your business, but it's not always the main point of why you're getting out. And you can come out in a very, very different way, even though you got a whole lot of money and you're not happy about it. Because sometimes your exit is going to require you being around for a few years, and you need to be prepared for that because you're no longer, you've sold your business and now you're an employee after running your business for 25 years. You've got a whole different set of things you've got to think about.